Billionaires. I have a problem with the idea that because someone has a lot of money that oftentimes they scammed people out of, that for whatever reason our society thinks, you know what, let's pay attention to what we have or to what they have to say, right? And so often what this leads to is billionaires going into the news and yelling at each other, and it's news. This is news. Like, I read this in the news section on a news website, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what did I read? Well, here's a headline for the ages. Mark Cuban, billionaire, attacks Joe Rogan, billionaire. I think Joe Rogan's a billionaire. If not, he's almost there. He's making hundreds of millions of dollars a year. He's almost there. And Elon Musk, billionaire. And vaccines brawl on Twitter. Way to talk in generalities, Joe. Why is this on the news? Why are people talking about it? I don't know. They're billionaires. And when a billionaire shits, it's a news-worthy event, right? Like, what the fuck? But hey, whatever. You know what? I know it's a problem. I'm jumping in. And then we have this fucking photo of Mark Cuban with his, like, sports team that he bought out or whatever, looking epic. Like, look at me. I'm wearing this Dallas shirt. I don't even know what Dallas is. Like, Dallas what? I don't know. I guess the picture would tell you, but I don't know what the fuck. Like, look at me. I'm a billionaire, bro. I'm wearing a t-shirt, man. Look at me, bro. Right? But again, so what are we talking about here? We're talking about vaccines. Now, again, in a country where 84% of Americans are anti-vaxxers. If that number seems surprising to you, you probably got lied to at some point in your life. Look it up. 84% of Americans have refused the latest round of COVID-19 vaccines. Free. Effective. They work. They're safe. There's no real side effects that are anything other than temporary. Free, safe, effective vaccines. 84% of the country refuse them. So as far as I'm aware, the Joe Rogans of the world, they won that battle. The American zombies, the sheep, the herd, if you will, they're marching in lockstep. I heard some bald freak on a podcast talk about something. It must be true. And then Mark Cuban is involved, I guess. Why not? Anyway, again, this is cringe. Mark Cuban, Shark Tank star, billionaire, entrepreneur, and owner of both the Dallas Mavericks and Cost Plus Drugs. Who cares? Waded into a chaotic Twitter brawl about, like, again, this is news. Like, I just want everyone to understand this is in the news section of a news website. I mean, okay, just to be clear, this is on Fortune. So, I don't know, is Fortune really a news website? But they claim to be, like, they're telling us that they're a news website, right? So, again, okay. Blah, 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 including Tesla CEO, blah, blah, blah. By the way, Elon has not been the world's richest man for a while. So, like, this idea that he's still the richest man after losing, like, $100 billion in this Twitter deal and all this fucking shit, Tesla's fucking stock crash. He is not the richest man in the world anymore. Please stop saying that. It's centered around Spotify podcaster Joe Rogan challenging a medical expert, Dr. Peter Hotez, Dean of the National School of Tropical Medicine and Professor of Pediatrics and Molecular Virology and Microbiology at Baylor College of Medicine, to enter a debate about vaccines on a show that came in response to Hotez sharing a Vice article from Friday entitled, "Spotify has stopped even sort of trying to stem Joe Rogan's vaccine misinformation." I would say that that is an inaccurate headline. It is disinformation. Joe Rogan knows he's lying. He knows he's making shit up, and he's doing it anyway for a political purpose. That's my opinion. Because how many times have we done this song and dance where he said some blatant lie about vaccines, he gets corrected, and he goes, "Oh, my bad, guys." How many times? Like, what is this, 28th time? Like, now he's just embracing it at this point, but... The Vice article came after a Rogan episode the day prior featuring Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a long-shot Democratic blah, blah, blah. Despite his political party, U.S. conservatives had taken a shine to Kennedy, who wrote a 21 book entitled The Real Anthony Fauci, Bill Gates, Big Pharma. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. These guys are obsessed with Anthony Fauci. It's crazy. I mean, I think Fauci is a fucking cocksucker piece of shit. I hate the guy. I mean, I personally think he's evil. But... man, oh man, these guys are obsessed with that motherfucker. I'm more concerned with, like, Walensky than I am with Fauci any day of the week. But Rogan tweeted on Saturday evening, Peter, if you want to claim what RFK Jr. is saying is misinformation, I am offering you $100,000 to the charity of your choice if you're willing to debate him on my show with no time limit. You ever see this fucking shit that billionaires do? I will donate to charity if you do this fucked up shit for me. Like putting the onus on you. Like, you ever see, like, you see this a lot. Like, yeah, if you do some stupid ass fucked up shit, I'm gonna give money to poor kids. What do you want to do? Not do the fucked up shit? You don't want the poor kids to get money? Like, what? Like, first of all, like, you're the one bringing up the fucking charity. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so if I decline your stupid offer, like, now you're gonna not donate to charity and that's my fault? You know what I mean? Like, you ever, like, you see this a lot with rich people. They, like, yeah, see? You don't want to have the kids starve, do you? Like, they do this fucking thing where they dangle the fucking money above the fuck, you know? It's fucking crazy. But anyway. Apparently the doctor responded with, Joe, you have my cell, my email, I'm always willing to speak with you. Replied, Hotez, who wrote the 2018 book, Vaccines Did Not Cause Rachel's Autism. Twitter owner Musk then retweeted, if he's afraid of a public debate because he's afraid of public debate because he knows he's wrong. You ever notice, by the way, that these guys will never talk about specifics? It's always, this guy is wrong. They're bad. They're wrong. What are they wrong about? They're wrong. It's always they, vague. Who's they? We don't know. Sometimes it's Fauci. Sometimes we don't fucking know. And wrong. What is wrong? What were they wrong on? What did they say that was wrong? What was right even? Doesn't matter. All we know is that somebody, was wrong in some way. That's all we really care about when you're a right-winger. That's all you need. Hedge fund billionaire. I missed Hotez replied, seriously, Elon, this is monstrous. 200,000 Americans needlessly perished, including 40,000 Texans, our neighbors, because they were victims of anti-vaccine disinformation. I don't know why you would specify 200K when we're talking about 84% of the country is ignoring the vaccines and hundreds of thousands of people are dying every year after they started ignoring the vaccines. To me, that's more of an alarm bell. 84% of Americans, not just conservatives, not just people in Texas. Fuck Texas. We're talking about Democrats, Joe Biden voters, vote blue no matter who, feminists, you know, the Hillary Clinton super fans. We're talking about the communists. We're talking about Antifa. 84% of Americans, almost everyone, has ignored and refused the latest round of vaccines. Hundreds of thousands of people have died since the latest round of vaccine. That 84% of the country have ignored. So, again, this is the other thing, is that even a lot of the medical community is covering up the pandemic. They're covering up and lying about it. So they're arguing from a place of weakness here when they can just, you know, liberate themselves and say, yeah, the U.S. government is engaging in a genocide, a mandatory medical experiment where they are forcing you to get sick with a disease that we don't know anything about, and the government is funding disinformation actors to make you afraid of all sorts of medicine so that in the future, when there's more pandemics, you'll have been trained to be afraid of medicine so that you die much more quickly, like a good little drone, like a good little sheep. That's what I would say. That's what I believe. I believe the government is doing all of this intentionally. Explain how they could do this on accident. I'll take that. But let's keep going. Hedge fund billionaire Big Bill Ackman unexpectedly joined in, tweeting, I will add $150 to Joe Rogan's wager. Like, again, look at all these billionaires. We're going to donate to kids' I'm just assuming it's kids. But we're going to donate to charity if you, like, are, like, we'll give not $250,000 to you. Right? But that's the other thing about this one that fucks with me. Like, if you want to give me $250,000 to go on your show and embarrass myself for 2 hours, I'm in. But that's the thing, is you're not going to get paid. They're going to dangle this money for charity that doesn't affect either of you, so force you to feel compelled to get nothing, to gain nothing. Otherwise, they're going to blame you for kids going starving. Like, this is some crazy ass, and this is why I don't believe that we should have billionaires, because billionaires, they play these fucked up psychological torture events. Shit's crazy, man. But anyway, so it's just a bunch of billionaires fighting. Like, what the fuck are these? And this is news, apparently. This is news. We just have to deal with this fucking shit being in the news. But Mark Cuban apparently says that Elon Musk and Joe Rogan are the mainstream online media, and your platforms have done everything supposedly wrong with MSM. I agree with that. So I want to say, based Mark Cuban on this one, and that's the only time they're going to get that one out of me, is that, yeah, all the problems with mainstream media, the corruption, right? And what corruption is pronged from two different things: money and friendships. That leads to corruption. So when people say mainstream media is corrupt, what are they saying? The money that they're getting is from unhelpful industries such as Raytheon, the military-industrial complex, right? The food industry. They're paying them to say certain things. But also, look at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, right? The so-called press, the free press, is getting, they're having fun with politicians. They're signing up and dressing up in tuxedos and drinking fancy $5,000 cocktails with the politicians they're supposed to be rough on. So again, the two mechanisms for corruption, money and friendship, are both present in these so-called anti-mainstream media industries. Now again, 10 years ago, YouTube just got bought by Google, right? I think, what was that, 2009, 2010? So, the money hadn't yet corrupted everyone online, right? It was kind of still really even unheard of to make money full-time on the internet, being an artist or a content creator. That was not really a thing 15 years ago, right? But now we have an entire side industry, right, where there's a lot of money now, right? And also people have had enough time to build up friendships, relationships, and the same exact dynamic has set up. People that hated the mainstream media's blatant corruption 10 years ago created their own simultaneously corrupted network, and they just exist in different spaces. So you have mainstream media in the form of CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, whatever the fuck, right? And then you have the sub-mainstream media, which is like Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, all these kind of people. They both have the same problems. They're both corrupted by money, right? They're both funded by billionaires, and they both have way too many kind connections with one another that prevents them from having honest, rigorous debate. The same problems. And you see this in all forms of the media. You see this in every political section. Look at left-wing politics, right? Look at what the Young Turks has been doing, for example, right? They have way too many kind friendships with transphobic people, racist people that they bring on their show constantly to do interviews, fawning over them. Even though they hate transgender people, they hate black people, they hate immigrants, they'll still bring them on their show to give great interviews because they've been friends for too long. Oh, we've known each other for 15 years. How could I hold you accountable for the fucked up shit you say, right? And then also, again, look at the money, right? Look at where the money that they source is from. So it doesn't the amount of zeros on your bank account is not really the necessary factor. It's not like you hit a certain amount of zeros on your bank account and then magically you become corrupt, right? That's not what happens. It's a slow trickle of corrupting money. And again, most people, they don't anything more than a couple $100,000 is, for most people, kind of just what's the difference between $1 billion and $1 million? That's why people don't really understand why billionaires are so powerful. They don't really understand the difference between such big numbers, right? And so, again, it takes, for a billionaire, a small amount of money to corrupt somebody, right? And again, friendships. When you have a friend, it's harder to call them out on their bullshit. And that's the problem with modern day so-called alternative media, is that it now has all the same issues of mainstream media, except without any of the polish, right? Without any of the fun production budgets, without being on TV. Why would I watch the Young Turks when I could watch CNN? It's the same fucking shit, right? They're all corrupt, right? They all are afraid to hold their friends accountable, and they all just fucking stagnate and make us dumber or don't teach us anything. Why would I watch either of those? In the same way, why would I watch Joe Rogan's show when I could watch Fox News? What niche is different? They're both corrupted by money. They're both corrupted by influence. What's the difference between Fox News and Joe Rogan? There is none, right? So again, and now we have to again, we're also inundated with, because billionaires are arguing, this is in the news now, we all have to talk about, what are the billionaires saying? The billionaires are mad at each other, guys, the billionaires. Come on now, come the fuck on. But anyway, that's a good point from Mark Cuban. I will say, it is rare for a billionaire to make a good point. And yeah, Joe Rogan has all the same problems as CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, the White House, the Senate, right? The White House Correspondents' Dinner, all of these people, you know, all the people that they claim to hate. Because really, that's what the grievance is. This is a grievance industrial complex. Is people like Joe Rogan and Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they feel like they were left out. Like 10 years ago. I mean, that's why Trump ran for president, for Christ's sake. They feel that they got left out. That there was some runaway train that they either weren't invited to or were kicked out of. Like sometimes, you know, they were on the train, like Donald Trump was on the train, and then he got kicked out. Right? And so a lot of this grievance industrial complex, like alternative mainstream media bullshit, is just people trying to get revenge on their enemies. Right? It's not about ethics. It's not about morality. It's not about, I am fundamentally, philosophically against corruption. They don't give a shit about any of that. Right? It's all just a grievance. I got kicked out of this club 10 years ago. I'm going to make my own club. That's all it is, man. That's all it fucking is. That's literally all it is. They're just as corrupt. They're just as dumb. It's just a different flavor. So anyway, there you go. There's your billionaires yelling at each other segment for today. I wonder what our billionaires yelling at each other segment for tomorrow will look like. I'm not sure, but I guess ask me tomorrow.